The White House has unveiled their strategy to combat the deeply rooted issue of Islamophobia in the United States. This comprehensive plan aims to address discrimination and prejudice against Muslim Americans. The White House approach comprises of multiple components, including increasing public awareness, fostering interfaith dialogue, and reforming policies to combat discrimination and hate crimes against Muslim Americans. Despite these efforts, skepticism persists within the Muslim American community. Many remain cautious due to a history of unfulfilled promises and a lack of consultation within the community. In developing the strategy, concerns also linger about the effectiveness of policy implementation and enforcement, which may not lead to the desired impact. We have now with us Mustafa Abidi from New York, who is the director for Muslim for Peace organization. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Thanks for having me.
Apologies, Abu Talib Muhammad. Apologies on that. How are you
today?
No
worries. Alhamdulillah. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming on our show today. Do you think this strategy will help Muslims?
Yeah, so recently, since we've seen so many attacks on Muslims in the US and in Europe, I think it's a step in the right direction, and that's what everybody, all of our leaders are talking about in the US. It's definitely a step in the right direction to keep Muslims safe and keep the image of Islam safe in the US as well. Muslims are under attack from all angles in the US and all corners of the US, and it's very important that we move swiftly to have our concerns recognized by our lawmakers. With that being said, there's still work to be done, and we look forward to building on this policy to ensure that our communities remain safe and our further generations stay safe as well as Muslims here.
Yep. And why is there so much reservations regarding this at the moment?
I think it's more the timing of this announcement. For quite some time, Muslims have felt ignored. We've been engaging our officials a lot to recognize Islamophobia, and there's been countless attacks on Muslims since 9/11. Personal attacks on our communities, attacks on our mosques. And now that there's such a big conflict in the Middle East, now that Muslims have been engaging our lawmakers, our officials, they've come out with this announcement. So it appears that maybe this announcement has been made to settle the dust a bit, to make Muslims happy. But it's still a step in the right direction. And as well, along with that, even though this announcement has been made, even though Islamophobia has been recognized by the government, the current administration is still establishing policies that are blatantly anti-Islamic. They're affecting Muslims within the US and around the world. And it is understood that our politicians have a broad community to represent, but it's also very important that our values as Muslims are acknowledged and the global Muslim community is not negatively affected by the policies of our government either.
Yeah. And if you could tell us, please, in detail, what is your opinion on what should be done?
Sure. So I think before we set expectations from our political leaders, we as Muslims need to get involved and show our value to the community at large. Unfortunately, the reality is that our values are not relevant, and the relevance of our values is dependent on our political presence. If we don't establish this presence in our broad communities, then we have no place in the decisions that are being made by our leaders. So the best place to start is by having a presence in our local communities, our local governments, and supporting Muslim candidates to hold positions in Board of Education, City Council, and then from there we can grow to have more of an influence in our state governments and the federal government as well. For example, our organization, we've supported so many candidates that have run for office, that hold office, and we help to connect numerous Muslims in the New Jersey and New York area with their local lawmakers and their local officials. We maintain a positive relationship with all these government officials, and whenever we need to raise awareness about anything affecting Muslims, we have those relationships in place to have our voices heard by our leaders. So that's the best place to start, and it's definitely a step in the right direction, like I said. But we still have a lot of work to do, and the best way to get started on that and the best way to continue that is to get involved ourselves, because we can't expect anybody else to care about our values until we move forward and we make those issues heard by the community.
Okay, thank you very much for joining us today and answering our questions, and inshallah we'll have you on soon again. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.